All right, guys, thank you for jumping on Close and Conquer the podcast. I actually could not be more excited about what I got going on today. We've had a lot of amazing guests on the show, and everybody can't be the best. Everybody, that would be a lie to say everybody succeeds or excels at everything. But Evan Carmichael is one of the most dynamic guests we've ever had. So I want to bring him on and welcome him. So, Evan, thank you for your time and thanks for joining us today.
Cool. Thanks for having me, Sean. Great to be here.
Great to have you. For everybody that doesn't know Evan, which shouldn't be many people, and I'll show you why it shouldn't be many of you mathematically, I'm going to give you some perspective. So, Evan at 19 built and sold a biotech software company. Is that accurate, Evan?
Yep.
19 years old. 19, I was trying to not get high every day and stay out of trouble. Seriously, from a perspective standpoint. 22 is a venture capitalist raising 500,000 to 15 million. Now runs a YouTube channel for entrepreneurs with over 300 million subscribers, 500 million views, wrote 4 books, speaks all over the world. But this is what I love the most about him when a gentleman named Steve, who we both know, allowed me to be in contact with Evan. He said he's trying to help people believe in themselves enough. And I was like, wait a minute, he's done all these things. He's accomplished all these things. And that's the thing he's like the world's biggest problem, in his words, that he's focusing on. And I want to give you some background. Evan and I spoke a while ago. We were going to do a podcast. And he jumped on with me. And I was just getting started in this whole social media world, YouTube. And it was probably the best conversation I've had in a long time. And I'm going to summarize it, Evan. I want you to tell me where I'm off. But I had a guy with me who doesn't work with me anymore. He's now been removed from working with me. Good person, but just bad strategy. And he was sitting in the corner, and I can see Evan, and this guy's sitting in the corner. And Evan starts looking at my analytics, and he's like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "What do you mean?" I'm getting on YouTube, and I'm excited, and we're going to have a podcast, and like I run a bunch of businesses, I sold them. It's going to be so awesome. And he says, "No, you're going to get shut down. Like you have there's a way to do this and there's a way to do it wrong." So I look at my guy with like daggers in my eyes, and I'm like, "What is he talking about?" He's like, "Oh no, that's not true. That's not true. That's not true." So then I get done. I gave Steve, you gave me a phenomenal summary of where we are and what we're doing, and I took every bit to heart. Like every bit of it. I watched it, I listened to it, and Steve said, "How did it go with Evan? Did you?" I said, "Oh, dude, I'm a train wreck. I'm not remotely ready to do this yet." And the guy was awesome. Like awesome. And he's like, "Oh, okay." But I want to read this to you before I bring Evan on. This is what I got from my teammate, got it from your team. Hopefully they did some research, my team. Evan Carmichael, May 1st, 2009, YouTube 25 subscribers. Year later, 107. Year after that, 344. 775. Into 2013, he got to 2,200. 2014, 9,400. 15, he got to 38,881. 16, 294,000. 17, 672,000. 18, 1.3 million. 19, 1.88. 20, he gets to 2.24. 2021, 2.9. 22 gets to 3,453,340 people who chose to subscribe to his channel. So, Evan, I can't thank you enough for being on. There's plenty of things that I want to ask, but I want to give you the opportunity first because whatever I screwed up in your background or bringing you on, can you just give everybody on here a little bit of a summary of you and your journey and where you're at? Because I have tons of questions I want to ask you in our time today.
Well, I think you did a great job. Sorry I got your guy fired.
No, he got himself fired, Evan.
And sometimes people do things they don't even know. They don't even know the rules. They don't know what could get people banned. And anyway, so I'm glad that you're not banned and that you're still around kicking and making content. And people need more Sean, so let's make it happen.
Well, I love that. Evan, talk to me about, because my journey, I had my mom at my house recently, and one of my greatest motivators in my life was when I was about 10 or 11, my mom got a real estate license. And She worked 3 jobs, had no education, had kids real young, had a brother that died shortly after birth, would have been my older brother, then had me and my brother, and she's in her late teens, okay, by herself. She got a real estate license, and I watched her get a new outfit, and I watched how excited she was. And for a couple months, she was going to open houses and floor duty, and I was like so happy for her. And then she quit one day, and she said, basically told me, it's not as easy as you think. Get a good job. And Evan, I didn't cry a lot as a kid, but I fucking cried. I cried because I knew my mom was never going to try again. How you've identified this as a huge problem. You've done very, very well. Our listeners typically are people trying to build a business. They're becoming entrepreneurs. They're trying to believe in themselves. Because I think most of us that are honest, we realize like we struggle on a regular basis believing in ourselves. You get me in a place that's new to me, I'm confident, but I'm like, all right, I got to think this. Am I able to do this? What can I do here? How can I empower myself? What is something that you've seen to be very successful in helping speak life into people and helping them to actually believe in themselves?
Well, thanks for sharing your story. I didn't know that about you. I was supposed to have an older brother as well,
Wow.
who passed away. And actually, if he was around, I probably wouldn't be. So I kind of got the bonus life when
Wow.
my older brother, his name would have been Daniel, um, passed away at birth. So thank you for sharing that. In terms of the belief and the motivation to get going, at the beginning, I think we need to focus on why, and then you move to the how, and then as you graduate, you move to the who. So it's like why to how to who. Where if you look at where you're at now, you're focused on the who. You're like, who can help me get to where I need to go? Who do I hire to help me with my YouTube strategy? Because you're already a successful entrepreneur and you know that you can't do this all by yourself. But at the beginning, it's much more about the why. Like, why is this so important to you that you have to get up and do this? And the environment, I think, is the thing that holds most people back. Most people's environment has been perfectly created to keep them where they are. And so the environment is the people in your family, your friend circle, what you're listening to every day, what who you follow on social media. And why I made my channel was I wanted every day to be around people who push me to believe more in me. So I want Steve Jobs in my ear every day. I want Elon Musk in my ear every day. I want people like Walt Disney who've done amazing things in my ear every day. And so that's why I started my channel for me, selfishly. If you guys are watching this and you love Sean and you respect everything he's built, great. He's got lots of content. Like, subscribe to the channel and watch a video every day. Because if you started your day with a Sean video, you're going to start to think like Sean. You're going to start to think differently. You're going to start to have a little more belief, and to be able to see someone like Sean do it makes you think, maybe I can do it as well. And so the number one thing I think I would change for most people is just the habits in the environment. What are you doing every day? Because entrepreneurs will often get really excited for a moment, and then you wake up the next day and all the energy is gone, and you don't believe in yourself anymore. You can't do it. And so it's like brushing your teeth. You got to do it every day. You got to be in an environment with people and books and podcasts and YouTube videos that make you feel like your big dream is possible. And if you did that every day, you'll start to see the shift. And we're usually so focused on pouring into other people, which is great. Like, keep doing that. The people listening to the show probably are the most ambitious person in their circle, and you're the one pouring into other people. That's great. Keep doing that. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here listening to Sean. Awesome. And who's pouring into you? And making sure that you have physical people in your life, as well as aspirational mentors that come in the online format that push you to get up every day and believe in those crazy ideas. Because if somebody else has done it, then it's possible for you too.
That's amazing. First of all, thank you for that. And I think because I'm listening to you, Evan, and I'm thinking about how many people are out there who don't invest in themselves. Like when I got into life insurance, there was a guy that called me and said, we can go to a seminar. It's $15,000. And I didn't ask him anything. I just said, all right, I'm in. Like, you want me to do that? I'll do it. It's $15,000. I'll do it. And I went through it, and I met a guy named Arthur Blank out Falcons, Home Depot, and I'd asked him one question. Well, I asked him a few, but like one that changed my life. And he said, find something that you absolutely love, and then you'll make like a little bit for a while, and a little bit of a lot will become a lot. He said that was the Home Depot concept. Evan, how do you, because you obviously did yourself, I mean, at 19, you were building a company. How do you get people to understand the value of actually investing themselves? Like, I got myself around people by investing my time, but also my money. The life insurance company I sold a couple years ago took me 4 years to make a profit. But then we were doing $750 million a year, and it got crazy. How do you help people put into perspective financially invest in themselves, whether it's through mentorship, whatever it is? How do they reach in their pockets and think differently than the people around them and put money into building themselves up?
I think it still will come down to the why, having a big enough why that you like, why do you care about this? You know, a lot of people have invested tons of money into college debt, but they don't care about the result. They don't care about getting the college degree. They don't care about that job that they get at the end of it. So why? Why do you care so much about this thing? And then are you around in an environment of people who are also caring about the same thing? You know, like if you're around people who are working out all the time and eating healthy, you're gonna start to work out and eat healthy. If you're around people who are always making content, you're gonna start making content. But when you're the only person in your family where people think that you're crazy and you have no friends and no circle and nobody that you consume online is doing that, then yeah, it sounds nuts. When you're investing into things, I love starting for free, especially if you have no money at the beginning. So there's so many programs now, so many courses. I mean, when you and I were getting started, there was nothing. Like the internet didn't exist. I didn't have the internet. I had to go to a library, like to read a book. I had to go to. Remember those things? Libraries. Yeah. Wow. Now, like you've got Sean here making content. This is amazing. I wish that my mentors would be online making content, right? So whatever you want to learn, there's people out there who are making content and they're putting it out there for free. And so that's where I would start. Like there's no reason why you can't do an audit of who you follow on YouTube and who you follow on Instagram and just ask yourself, are these people who make me feel better about myself, people who make me encouraged, people who help me believe more in myself, people who are fueling my ambitions? Where most of the channels we subscribe to are entertainment. You're like doom scrolling through your Instagram. I'm not doom scrolling through my Instagram. There's awesome stuff in my Instagram. There's amazing channels that I subscribe to because it makes me feel more ambitious. I don't start the day of like, yes, I'm going to go change the world. I can't wait, right? I start the day like I'm starting from square one. But the difference is the habits and the routines and what we feed into our brain. That's why you need it every day, especially for entrepreneurs. We're often got an ADD and like forget what happened the last week. And so you can start for free. Any of these people who are offering training that you can go and drop $15,000 on some course, cool. They probably have a free version. They probably have YouTube videos. Yep. And you may not resonate with everybody. That's fine. You don't need 1,000 mentors. Go find 2. Go find 3. People who are in your industry, they've done the thing that you want to do. You resonate with their style. You love them. Awesome. Subscribe to them. Watch all their content. Do the things that they say to do. They give you advice in a video. Do something about it. Go take action on it. Sean gives you advice. Do something about it. Don't just watch another video. Go do something about it and let it prove to you that it works. Because if their one strategy works, cool, then go buy their book. That's a $20 investment, right? And then do the things that are in the book. Don't just have another book that sits taking up, space on your shelf, collecting dust, right? And then take one of their courses and then hire them as a coach, right? Like you don't have to go. I mean, you're at the point now, both of us, honestly, like if we want to get into something, we might just drop 20,000 on something. Like,
correct.
Give me the expert. I want to learn. We'll pay for speed. Like now it's worth it. When you're starting up this channel, you don't want to have to go figure out everything yourself, what microphone to use and how to edit and what software. And you don't care about that stuff. You're past that. You can afford to write a check to hire someone to come in and do the work. Awesome. But at the beginning, when you're trying to figure it all out, then start with free. Like, don't tell me you don't have time to watch a 20-minute YouTube video every day to help get you ready, to help teach you a new skill, right? You have time. What are you spending your 20 minutes on every day? You don't have 20 minutes? Like, let's sit through your calendar and see how much time you spend, sitting on the toilet looking on your Instagram feed, just doom scrolling, right? Like, we have time every day. It's just how are you allocating that time? And so that's what I would recommend. Is like start with the free. but then do the work. Like watching a video alone is not going to change your life, but you could be in a completely different spot 1 year from today if you actually followed the right people and took action on the advice that they were talking about.
You know, when you talk about books, and that's a great, great, great perspective. I trying to do my buddy a favor the other day. I graduated high school in 1990, and his wife wanted me to get a copy of the all area baseball team. And I said, okay. So I called this guy, and he said, yeah, you can go to the library. It's on microfiche. Do you remember microfiche, Evan? You're too young for a microfiche, probably.
I graduated in 98, so I'm not that far behind.
Okay,
you.
but we still had some microfiche kicking around. But to your point, I had to go take out books from the library and do those things. So, your journey on YouTube, because we have folks that I run these, like I have 30,000 agents, and people say to me, well, you know, I worked hard at it. I said, it's been 4 months. It's been 4 months. I didn't start making money until I got into my late 30s. 4 months you were doing it. Evan, when I read your numbers earlier, and I'm going to tell you, most people I know would have probably said it's not going to work because we're so instant gratification. And maybe I'm just ignorant but like the people I know of, why did you know? Because you kept moving. Why did you know it would work? And then what happened when those spikes, like what did you do in your journey when you look back and go, I did this and it allowed me to get here? Unless it was just, I kept doing the same thing for X amount of years.
Yeah. So what, 5 years in, what am I at? What's my number 5 years in?
Because this is because this made me, because you're such a stud. And I was like, oh my God, there was one thing he didn't like dominating 2 days. When you're what year? I'm sorry.
Well, just 5 years in.
Let's go. So 2014, you were 9,400 subscribers after 5 full years.
Okay. So I'm 5 years in on doing this, and I got 9,000 subscribers, right? Okay. Yeah. So for a lot of people, it's like, man, I suck. You know, like it's not working. This is not good. I need to quit. I had a lot of things working against me that I'd be able to do a lot faster now. I'm still am, introverted, shy, was afraid to ask for help. Never thought I would be good on camera. Like all of these things, nobody cares about my message. Nobody would want to see me. I couldn't watch my first 350 videos back without being completely embarrassed of myself. So I never watched it back. The only thing I had going for me, Sean, was I just kept going. I didn't watch my videos and never asked for help, but I just kept going. And my focus, I never thought I was going to be big. Like when I started, nobody had 1 million subscribers. YouTube famous wasn't a thing. And I'm making educational content. Like nobody was making educational content. So it's not like I knew it was going to work out. That I didn't know it at all. I just focused on who I was serving. That if 50 people watched my video, that's 50 people that watched my video. Like if I was to go to a library or something to give a speech and 50 people showed up, I would be nervous that 50 people were there to watch me speak. Oh my God. But because it's online now, we think that, oh, those people don't count. So I always just focus on who I was serving instead of who I wasn't serving. Because the who I'm not serving game never ends, right? It's like, well, why aren't you at 100,000 subscribers, Sean? Or why aren't you at 1 million subscribers or 10 million subscribers or 100 million? Like the who you're not game never ends. And as entrepreneurs, we're wired for growth anyway. Like you're aggressive, you're going to get there. You don't need help in that side of things. It's more like, hey, it's not happening fast enough. So I always focus on who I was serving instead of who I wasn't. In terms of the shift, 5 years in, I think so it was 9,000 and then it jumped to like 30,000, I think, and then 200,000 or something like that.
So you went from 9,000 to 38, then 294, then 672.
Right. So then when people say, well, what made the difference? Like, well, what year are we talking about? Like in your mind, what is the big shift? But 5-6 years in on my journey, I met two people that had a big change on my life. The first was my wife, who I started dating at the time. And she doesn't do anything really in my business, but just to have the unconditional support of somebody who wanted to help. Who was kind of cheering me on, who wanted to understand my business and loved what I was doing. really made a difference, because on the days when it's not working or you're not getting results, you have somebody who feels like they're on the journey together. So she eventually joined my company years later, but just meeting her and having that unconditional love and support for what I was doing made a huge difference. And I'd been in long-term relationships before. I was even married before, and there was nothing wrong with my previous relationships. It just was seen as kind of my thing. So I'm doing this thing and you're doing this thing, cool. But with Nina, it became she cared about my thing, which felt weird. It's like, well, yeah, I'm gonna go do my videos. Like, oh, can I come? Like, what do you mean you want to come? I'm gonna do some videos. Like, can I watch? Can I be involved? And she would just try to. She was just supportive, which I don't know. As someone who was afraid to ask for help and never felt like I needed help, it felt weird to have help and support. So that made a big difference. The second person I met was Steve, who you mentioned earlier on at the beginning of this call, who's a mutual friend. And I met him through an associate, and he said that he had an agent. Like, what do you mean you have an agent? Like, you're a businessman. How do you have an agent? And he said, yeah, like sports people have agents and musicians have agents. I have my agent. His name is Steve. Like, can I meet Steve? And like, yeah. So Steve is this guy. He's in New York, and he's got a huge heart, although he comes across as a typical New Yorker. And he took a flyer on me, if I'm being honest. A lot of the people who were coming to him at the time, they didn't have a great message, but they were already very well media trained. So they were great in front of a camera, but they didn't have a message. And he told me that he loved my message, but that I sucked in front of a camera. Like, what do you mean I suck, Steve? He's like, I've been doing this for 5 years. What do you mean I suck? I mean, I could be better, but it's like, no. Like, compared to these people, you suck. And he gave me homework, and I started doing the homework, right? And he said, the first thing I need to work on is your foundation story. And so he gave me homework to work on my foundation story. And I would work on the video. This would be like a 20 to 40-minute video. I'd do a video in the morning. I'd send it to him. He'd give me feedback. At lunch, I'd do another version, send it to him. He'd give me feedback. After dinner, I'd do another version. He'd give me feedback. I'd be doing this 3 times a day until I got better at the skill. And it got to the point where Steve started using me as an example in the agency, where I was the worst one coming in. I almost didn't get in, and I was the worst performer, to the point where I became the role model, the best, the one that he was showing other people in the agency, like, do it like Evan, only because I was doing the work. I was not skilled. He just told me what to do, and I would do it. And when people would take a week to get back to him on one thing, I was doing it like 3 times a day, and he was giving me feedback, and I was rapidly getting better. And I asked, who's the number one person at the agency? Who's got the most subscribers at the agency? And he said Grant Cardone at the time. So like, okay, I'm gonna beat Grant. I'm gonna pass Grant, and we did, eventually.
Yeah.
But those 2 people, like my wife for the emotional support and just unconditional love, and then Steve for the guidance and the push. And obviously, I did the work. Like, Steve can't carry you across the finish line. I had to do the work, but I was outworking the other people at the agency because I just wanted it. I wanted it more.
Well, Evan, first of all, I want to thank you, because when I tell my story, whenever that is, I will talk about you coming on and being very honest, because it's a lost art, unfortunately. Constructively critical, which I say with endearment and I appreciate. And it's the relationship that I built with Steve that allowed me to meet you. And when you talk about that you were embarrassed to watch your videos, as big as you are. Guys, I hope this was empowering, because when I find people that are successful and humble, I can't get around them enough. So you, my friend, are an epitome of both. And your time today was well served. I know that people were well served. So follow Evan. He's on a journey to get wherever he wants to get to, and he won't let up. And Evan, thank you for your concern for other people. And your desire to see them win and to share the stuff you've learned so they can get to where they need to get to, my friend.
Thank you, man. And what episode number of the podcast is this for you?
Man, I'm going to tell you, I don't know. It's one thing I'm terrible. On Close and Conquer, this is our 4th. So we were punch me in the face. We were punch me in the face for a year. and then we came to Close and Conquer. And that was another thing somebody told me.
Okay.
They said, "Do you love Punch Me in the Face? Can you talk about Punch Me in the Face on every episode?" And I'm like, "No." They're like, "That. What's the message?" And I'm like, "I guess that sucks too." So then I came up with we came up with Close and Conquer. So, but you are 4, my friend.
Okay, so when Close and Conquer gets to 100,
Yes.
let's do it again.
I'm all about it. I would love to do it. Have you on whenever you want to come on. You are definitely on at 100. We'll put it in the books, and we can't wait to see you. Thanks for being on today, Evan. I appreciate you, man. I got nothing but love and respect for you. Guys, thanks for watching. Follow Evan. He's an absolute stud, and he's humble, which is awesome, and he'll help you. And thanks for jumping on. Like, subscribe, share. Somebody needs to hear this. Let them know, and we'll talk to you all soon. We'll see you next week.